Hello, strangers whose faces are obscured behind avatars. I'm looking for long walks on the beach, romantic candlelight dinners, and people who are definitely over the age of 18. What? Oh. Sorry, I thought this was Roblox. Hello, close friends who I'm looking to form parasocial relationships with. I'm hoping you can clear something up for me. I watched a horror flick called Weapons not too long ago because of all the praise and attention it was getting online, and that was seriously confusing to me. I left that theater trying to rationalize what I saw to my girlfriend over and over again, since I clearly wasn't picking up on what everyone else was. This shit was one of the funniest movies I've seen in a theater in a long time. Well, right behind Liam Neeson's The Naked Gun remake, which I can't recommend to people enough who like that stupid shit like I do, which is something I'll make a video on, but probably not. Around 90% of the comedic elements in this movie worked for me, as in when it was trying to be funny, it was funny.
I love you so much. What the fuck?
But some of the funniest parts of this movie are when it's unintentionally funny. I presume anyway, since most people saw this through a scary lens and not a spoofy, goofy one. Let me start by explaining why the horror aspect just didn't really work for me on this one. My main gripe with this movie is that they blew their metaphorical load super quick. Which, usually I wouldn't shame a fella for that, but, I was deeply saddened by this. Check this out, alright? What I mean is that in the beginning of the film, you're essentially introduced to the movie with the main kid named Alex narrating to you about how 17 kids from his class went missing, all disappearing at 2:17 a.m. and how they never came back. Now to me, this is a scary idea. I can get behind this. As a parent, as a classmate, as one of the kids, as the teacher, as whoever, anybody. This is a scary thought to have, alright? And I'm like, I like this. Give me more of this. Then after this explanation, the kid goes,
"This is where the story really starts."
And then the movie begins to take place after the kids have already all run off into the darkness. After the scary shit already took place. This is where the story really like, motherfucker, no it's not. What are you on about, big man? The story begins with what your Happy Meal, juice box, Marvel rival gooner ass was talking about 20 seconds ago. Give me that back. I want that more of that. Give me more of that. So essentially, the bulk of this movie takes place after that shit's happened. And if I'm being totally honest, I was immediately disappointed. It's just I felt like they could do so much more with that idea, especially in the beginning of the movie. But anyway, now to give a little bit of credit back to the movie, it was able to pull me back in. The horror shit, a little after this, is pretty decent. Like, when the movie is building to reveal the mystery as to what's actually happening in the town, and we're following the teacher and some related partisans around, I'll admit, I was back. The building of the suspension on Miss Gandy was palpable. And she's kind of like a wacky, zany drunk.
Hello, it's Miss Gandy. I'd like to talk to you. Hello?
So, part of you does get behind the idea that she's part of what's going on. And there were some good suspensive moments that I won't take away from the film. But as soon as the main mystery of the movie is revealed, it fell immediately flat. As soon as I put the pieces together that raggedy-ass auntie was behind it all, and especially later in the movie when it became like a Walking Dead action flick, that shit was lame. Horror movie-wise, anyway. The aunt / witch doctor / 2 elixir goblin from Clash Royale is probably the least scary villain of all time. I'm pretty sure I was more afraid of Will Ferrell in Elf, primarily because of the tights, but that's a topic for a different day. So in short, that's why this movie kind of fell flat to me, horror-wise anyway. The scariest part of the movie was glazed over in 2.5 seconds in the beginning. And then the climactic reveals at the end just didn't really work for me. It had me wondering how people were taking this as seriously as they were in the reviews. Now on the contrary, I've seen Zach Cregger, I don't know how to say his name, Zach Cregger's previous work, Barbarian, when it released a while back. So I know not all of this movie was meant to be a horror film, and or even watched how I think it was meant to be watched. So if I were to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, he has fooled me into believing that this was mostly meant to be seen as some scary horror shit. So take that how you will. But when I tell you that I was sitting in that theater losing my shit, I mean it. A little bit, I still have manners. As an interesting side note, it turns out Jordan Peele wanted to produce this film. After reading the script, it was said that he was so furious that he lost the $38 million bidding war to Krieger's team that he parted ways with his management. Me personally, I think it would have been interesting to see Peele's take on the film, because even if you don't like the guy or his movies, at the very least, you gotta recognize that the shit he makes is generally unique. So looking at the Wikipedia article for this movie, reveals what the director's message was behind the kid's disappearance, which apparently was a take on his personal experience with parental neglect and how those scars never really heal, even after the kid's rescue, which I suppose is great, but it turns out I don't have a degree in pseudo-intellectualism, blowing fart bubbles out of my own ass to get a whiff, so I didn't really pick up on those undertones. Fuck you. Nah, I'm just fucking around. But I mean, it does make sense looking back on the film, so hey, good for you, buddy. If you guys are to take anything away from this video, I don't want you thinking that I hated this movie or anything, because I really didn't. I really just needed to shift my perspective, since I'm not like you sheeple. Some of the story beats in this movie were great as well. I just want to say that I enjoyed the direction, and I particularly found Archer's screen time really compelling. If I were to rate it, I'd probably give it a, 7.5 out of 10. Pretty solid. Call it a day. I do have like a horror/suspense recommendation that was also released around the same time as this movie. And I think it worked a lot better for me personally, which was a film called Together, starring Dave Franco. The suspense was there. The scenes were excellent, and I was genuinely concerned, like almost the whole movie. I'm surprised no one's really talking about this, since, I liked it better. And since I'm just the definitive verdict on what's good and bad on the internet, I figured it should be getting more praise. So go watch that if you like movies like these. If you made it this far, please let me know if you felt the same way as me or any of your thoughts on the movie, because I really am just genuinely curious. Alright, take care, guys.